I think you're good.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Colleen Apple and I use she, her pronouns. And I have a subversive plot. I'm joining a movement so powerful that according to Roger Doran in a 2011 TED Talk, it has the potential to radically alter the balance of power, not only in our own country, but in the entire world. How did I come to join this movement? Well, ever since the director of the Arkansas Interfaith Alliance spoke to some of us last year, I've had the niggling idea that we could duplicate their gardening project, in which churches funded the supplies and expertise to get gardens in backyards. I've talked plenty about such an idea, but I didn't have any concrete details to make it happen. However, recently, Lindsay Pyle Pittman asked for the help of expert gardeners in our members and friends Facebook group, and my enthusiasm for the project was renewed. Many people weighed in on possible projects such as plant swaps, tool libraries, pollinator-friendly flower beds, raised bed construction, and more. Mike Brown suggested we call whatever we plan to do Springfield Underground with 2 U's, as in first UU, and Sherry Buchanan quickly popped up to add the subtitle, Gardening as a Subversive Activity. Today, I make the case that our individual and community efforts to make things grow can slow climate change and address the injustices of a globalized food system. Now, this audience knows that the planet's soils are in trouble. Each year, we lose about 25 million acres of cropland to soil erosion. Soil degradation alone, which is turning 1/3 of the world into desert, is projected to decrease food production by 30% over the next 50 years. The nutritional quality of food grown in soil laden with fertilizer and pesticides is lower than that of food raised with regenerative practices that enrich the soil. According to the Kiss the Ground organization, new studies show that without a change in agricultural practices, it will be impossible to stop climate change. What does the loss of soil have to do with climate change? Beginning around 1930, modern petroleum-fueled agriculture has released 50 to 70% of the soil's carbon into the air, where it heats up the atmosphere. Ironically, returning carbon to the soil solves multiple problems, such as reducing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and increasing the fertility of the soil, helping farmers to grow more. There's a simple way to get carbon into the ground. Kiss the Ground proposes that the best machines for binding the carbon into the earth already exist. Plants. Soil just might save us, says Josh Dickel, author of the book Kiss the Ground, but we are going to have to save it first. Regenerative farming practices such as composting, incorporating animal grazing, diversifying crops, prioritize soil health. Fertile soil stores more carbon. A study cited by the Kiss the Ground organization found that better management of forest, grasslands, and soils in the United States could absorb as much as 21% of the country's annual greenhouse gas emissions. When the soil suffers, it's not just our food supply at risk. The more we break our sacred connection to the earth, the more likely we are to harm those that work the soil. One of the consequences of colonization capitalization, and white supremacy has been the forgetting of our sacred connection to the soil, which has in turn led to soil destruction. Poet and essayist Wendell Berry wrote in The Hidden Wound, "The white man, preoccupied with the abstractions of the economic exploitation and ownership of the land, necessarily has lived on the country as a destructive force, an ecological catastrophe, because he has assigned the hand labor, and in that the possibility of intimate knowledge of the land, to a people he considered racially inferior. In thus debasing labor, he destroyed the possibility of meaningful contact with the earth. Because he did not know the land, it was inevitable that he would squander its natural bounty, deplete its richness, corrupt and pollute it, or destroy it altogether." Enough food, says Leah Penniman, Black Creole farmer and food justice activist, is each person having daily access to an average of 2,353 calories of culturally appropriate, locally available, affordable, unrefined, and delectable nourishment. The good news is that we already grow enough food to feed 10 billion people. The challenges are that the food is not fairly distributed. A lot of it is thrown away. And the process of growing it industrially is trashing the planet. Contrary to conventional mythology, smallholder farms and regenerative agriculture can feed the world. By paying attention to racial equity, indigenous food sovereignty, waste reduction, and agro-ecosystem health, we can uproot hunger and see justice on a planetary scale. As defined by Kiss the Ground, regenerative agriculture is a holistic land management practice that leverages the power of photosynthesis in plants to close the carbon cycle and build soil health, crop resilience, and nutrient density. In the early 1900s, Missouri's own George Washington Carver was a regenerative farming pioneer, urging farmers to dedicate every spare moment to raking leaves, gathering rich earth from the woods, piling up muck from swamps, and hauling it to the land. He believed that unkindness to anything means an injustice done to that thing, extending his conviction to soil. Urban farmers Ann McClay and David Montgomery assure us that regenerating soil to change the piece of the planet where you live is possible at multiple scales. It might be a city yard, rooftop garden, community garden, or working farm. Add up these efforts and we can restore fertility to degraded soils, end hunger, and pull some carbon from the sky. Farmers can wean themselves off of agrochemicals and slash one of their biggest expenses. And we can all enjoy more life in yards, city parks, and farm fields. Cultivating living soil is something anyone can do to change the world from the ground up. Again, from Wendell Berry, in an article called "Revolution Starts Small and Close to Home," considers what happens when we face an enormous problem. We tend to focus on the difficulty, the impossibility of all of us together stopping those things that abuse the land and damage the environment. So then we ask the government for policy change, pushing solutions to some future time when we have no validation that they will work. With minds set in the future, we make it difficult to think about or do any one thing in particular. If we set aside our present life to ruminate on a doomed future, the present is going by and we are not in it. The hope that Barry offers us is so significant and central to my message that here I use his words. And here we come to the reassuring difference between changes in policy and changes in principle. The needed policy changes, though addressed to present evils, wait upon the future, and so are presently non-existent. But changes in principles can be made now by so few as just one of us. Changes in principles carried into practice are necessarily small changes made at home by one of us or a few of us. Innumerable small solutions emerge as the changed principles are adapted to unique lives in unique small places. Barry continues, we could give up saving the world and start to live savingly in it. If using less energy would be a good idea for the future, that is because it is a good idea. So few as just one of us can save energy right now by self-control, careful thought, and remembering the lost virtue of frugality. Spending less, burning less, traveling less may be a relief. A cooler, slower life may make us happier, more present to ourselves and to others who need us to be present. Because of such rewards, a large problem may be effectively addressed by the many small solutions that, after all, are necessary, no matter what the government might do. The government might even do the right things at last by imitating the people. What are the small solutions that we can undertake here at First UU? Let me give you a brief summary of what's being planned. Next Sunday, before and after church, we're doing a follow-up of this message. Before church, we'll be showing a video about gardening being a subversive activity. After church, children will be making teacup fairy gardens downstairs, and adults will be upstairs, listening to Ann Kenyon talk about the importance of pollinators and about easy ways to get started with or elevate an existing pollinator garden. I will also provide you with details about garden stimulus packages to provide the funds and support to grow things. Our stimulus program won't be as ambitious as the Arkansas program, where they actually built raised beds in backyards. Instead, if you want to grow things, what we will do is offer a gift card to one of 3 local small businesses based on your needs: seeds and plants, garden tools, or compost, soil, and mulch. And then we'll offer expert help when needed. Also, beginning next Sunday, we'll have a buy nothing table of any article related to gardening. Do you have garden tools, seeds, plant starts, cuttings, gardening books that you don't need and are willing to share? Bring them to the buy nothing table. And finally, now that COVID numbers have inched their way into the green level, we'll be able to talk about a fundraiser meal with lasagna prepared by a chef. If you want to hang out with some wonderful people completely devoted to gardening and to the beauty of our grounds, join them this coming Saturday for cleanup day. There are 3 garden beds available for your use. Find out how you can benefit from one of them. A note to renters and apartment dwellers. It is possible for you too to grow things and live regeneratively. At the moment, my subversive plot is just one self-watering deck box for my herbs. Regenerative living is scalable on many levels. Deck boxes, houseplants, microgreens, sprouting. There are so many ways we can bring more plants into our lives. I have a story about the tool carrier that sits on the table beside me. It was built by my father, a man I've never been close to. He passed away 5 years ago, and I did not treat his tool carrier very well. In fact, it was probably headed for the wood pile. But when I renewed my gardening tools with rust removal and a good scrubbing, I decided I wanted to respect my tools with a unique carrier. My husband nailed and glued the carrier back into use, and remarkably, I now feel an affection for my father I did not imagine possible. Let's renew our faith that our small actions might be the things that heal us and the planet. Are you ready to join the transformative, subversive movement of growing things? My closing words are from Rumi. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Blessed be, amen. The interlude is We Will Not Stop Singing by the Brooklyn Unitarian Choir.